Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Well, today we're talking about Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 8, which is entitled Surrender. This was a really good episode. It went in some very interesting directions. Some directions I didn't necessarily think it was going to go in. We got a little bit more information about certain bits and pieces and a surprisingly good amount of humour and levity in this episode. There were some really nice laugh out loud moments from some of our crew and everything, I think, in this episode. On top of the tension and the stress and the threat of impending execution, I think it was a pretty well-rounded episode and I enjoyed it a heap. So let's get into this week's review and breakdown of Surrender, Episode 8 of Star Trek Picard Season 3. So we start the episode, Vadic has locked down the whole ship. She's got the whole ship pretty much cordoned off. She's got control of all the systems and our crew pretty much seem like they can't do anything. We get a bit more insight into Jack's abilities, the way he's able to do his little red-eye maneuver, maybe sort of astrally project himself or his consciousness into other people's bodies so that he can kind of walk around in them like a puppet, a kind of form of possession it appears to be. And he's able to do this with one of the Titan crew members, but they're soon spotted by one of Vadic's henchmen and that all comes to an end quite quickly. We get to see what's been going on with Riker and Troy. Obviously we have some nice scenes here with them, quite heartfelt moments with Riker and Troy in this episode. Having them in that little cell together, they can kind of, I don't know, they're stuck in an environment where they can, I guess, talk more openly about what's been going on in their life in recent years, discussing in quite emotional depth about the death of their son and how they've coped with that, and how, Troy tried to sort of help Will take some of the burden from that, and he didn't sort of want her to do that. So there was it was quite an open and frank discussion. Also combined with a bit of levity as well. We knew at some point during one of these scenes Will was going to call her Imzadi, and I like the moment where he does that, and then she kind of almost rolls her eyes as if to say, oh, this is the only, Betazoid word you know, I should have taught you more. And then she calls him a Yintaru, which is Betazoid for baby of immense size. So I love some of these little quips in this episode. There was a few moments scattered throughout the episode, Troy and also with Worf and everything as well, which I think worked really nicely. We have a little bit of conflict on the bridge of the Titan between Shaw and Seven. Obviously, they're trying to get out of the predicament they're in. They're in the big lineup. Somebody's going to get taken down, no doubt, from Vadic's execution lineup. You can tell there's a little bit of debate going on there between Shaw and Seven. They never quite see eye to eye, these guys. So it was interesting when Jack was able to take control via remote connection to Lieutenant Muir on the bridge to try to enter the unlock code or whatever to re-establish bridge control and whatnot. Obviously, he's only able to do this to regular life forms, and he wasn't able to take control of one of Vadic's henchmen or Vadic as well. So it seems like it doesn't work on changelings. And just when obviously Muir is about to enter the code, Vadic stops him. The jig is up, and it obviously appears like that Vadic is in complete awareness of Jack's abilities, and whatever these abilities entail, whether we've seen the full extent of them or not, I doubt we probably have. But it seems like the reason that the changelings want Jack so badly is because of this ability to remote control people. So whether this means that, the changelings want to use this ability to, I don't know, project themselves into the head of Starfleet or something, but wouldn't think that would be a great necessity, because then they could take the form of the head of Starfleet. And after this attempt fails, obviously we've got the situation where, Lieutenant Muir and Ensign Esma are at gunpoint. We feel like, oh no, that one of these guys is going to get executed. I said in my last video that I didn't think all of our bridge crew were going to make it to the end of this episode, and yep, I was right. Poor old Lieutenant Tavine, the Vulcan science officer, got vaporized. We go back to Riker and Troy on the Shrike and have a very quite extended, heartfelt conversation about pain from Thad's death and everything, and also the fact that they've mutually decided that they really hate Nepenthe and living there, and they don't like the house at all. And I think Troy makes some quip about the house being designed by sort of retro hipsters or something. As I said before, there's a few really cool laugh-out-loud moments of levity in this episode, and I really enjoyed them. Of course, we get Worf coming to their rescue. He's managed to board the Shrike using a cloaked shuttlecraft. I feel like there were some moments missing from last week's episode. Obviously, we had episode 6 where we saw Riker and Troy right at the end there. And then in episode 7, we got nothing at all to do with Riker and Troy at all, but we've got Worf on a cloaked shuttlecraft. We've obviously had Riker sending this secret coded message, which they received in last episode. So I wonder whether there was some scenes shot involving, Worf with the cloaked shuttle, involving Riker sending the message. And they just never ended up making it into the cut for episode 7. It kind of felt like there was a few moments that we missed out on there. I love the moment where Troy gives Worf a hug or whatever, and, he makes his little quip about, people not respecting his personal space and everything. Worf kind of almost boasting and gloating to Deanna that he's been doing all this meditation and working on himself sort of almost spiritually and everything, and how, Deanna as a counselor and Betazord would be very proud of him, and sort of no one's quite sure how to react in this moment. I think sort of Deanna's wanting to sort of give him kudos, but also there was sort of, maybe some weirdness between Riker and Worf there, because obviously there was that moment in one of the late, I think it was season 6 or 7 of Next Generation, where there was that little bit of a relationship between Worf and Deanna for a short amount of time kind of thing. That all kind of played a little bit awkwardly, but also humorously as well, which was fun. So after the execution of Lieutenant Tavine, obviously Jack realizes that we've got to do something to stop the situation. He's got to hand himself in. They need a plan to hand himself in, and how they're going to work this out. And the only way they can effectively retake the bridge is to get Data to do it, because he's the only one that can calculate all of the necessary calculations and everything to unlock the systems they need to unlock. The meeting back in the engineering section there with Geordi. I love the little test they do with asking about Picard's wine and everything. That was funny as well. And the only way to get Data back is to lower this partition, obviously, between the Data and Lore sides of the program, and hopefully Data is able to regain control. And initially, we think this is going very badly. We think that Lore is overpowering Data. We see Data kind of, giving his old sort of trinkets and memories and everything to Lore, which Lore is kind of vaporizing. Data's old sort of Sherlock Holmes pipe and cap. We see the little hollow cube thing that Data had, which was his little memento of Tasha Yar, which was really kind of sweet and heartwarming to see. A deck of cards representing all those games of poker they used to play in Riker's quarters on the Enterprise. And first and foremost, Data's cat spot. I think all these little moments with Data giving these to Lore and then Lore deleting them, it was kind of sad, to see what was happening here between Data and Lore. We think that Lore is sort of deleting Data piece by piece, but it's more Data integrating himself into Lore. Obviously, we find out with the scene between, Worf and Raffi and Will and Deanna on the Shrike, they find Jean-Luc's corporeal remains, and they work out that the reason they want them is obviously because the Irremotic syndrome, which we kind of figured out last episode, that whatever it is about Irremotic syndrome, it obviously, that combined with Jack's abilities is somehow something the changelings are very interested in, whether that be because they're an anti-changeling weapon of some kind, or they want to use it to expand their nefarious means. It's pretty important to the changelings' agenda. We get Jack on the bridge, and he's trying to negotiate to get the hostages released. He's come on the bridge to quote C-3PO.
He's holding a thermal detonator!
I love it when Data regains control of the ship and starts locking out Vadic or whatever, and he makes the announcement and, calls Vadic a monologuing protoplasm. that was quite good. I did laugh out loud during that moment. We get some cool fight scene action with Raffi wielding the dual blades, taking out a lot of Vadic's henchmen in corridors and everything, and Worf still giving her tips. That was kind of cool as well. Like, you're still dropping your shoulder and you're doing this. It's like, come on, give me a break. I just took out like 5 henchmen here. And we finally realize that what Jack is holding isn't some kind of thermal detonator at all. It's basically like a portable shield bubble, which they activate and then are able to open some sort of emergency space hatch or whatever behind the view screen of the bridge, which ejects all of our henchmen along with Vadic out into space. I love the final line from Vatic, almost shaking her head and just saying, "F***ing solids." As Vatic ices over in the vacuum of space and then smashes into a million pieces on the deflector dish of the Shrike. I love the little extra detail of the chunk of frozen changeling rock with half of Vatic's face still on it as part of the debris. You want the ending of the villain to be pretty epic. It was definitely a pretty epic defeat scene and moment for Vatic in this episode. Although I was kind of surprised that they killed off Vatic and blew up the Shrike in episode 8. I thought they might have hung around till the end of the season and we wouldn't have seen them taken down or whatever until episode 10. But obviously there's a bigger fish to fry, which we're going to see in the next 2 episodes, whatever the big changeling threat is on Frontier Day and everything. And obviously now that Deanna is on board the ship, which is what I was speculating last week, is that they were going to need Deanna to unlock the abilities from Jack, or to uncover what the hell is the situation with Jack's abilities. And they're going to obviously have to use Deanna to get to the bottom of what exactly is going on with Jack. Data is back, but he's not the Data we remember. He's a little bit of a different Data. He's obviously incorporated some of Law's abilities and everything into his program. So he's now using contractions, and he can also use humor. So there's also some of the, maybe the best parts of Law have found their way into Data. And there was a nice scene here where we talk about these and just talk about the friendship between Data and Geordi. I think that was a beautiful scene. But what was even better was, let's face it, all of our 7 Next Generation cast members all together. They're all around the conference table in the observation lounge, like old times. It was really, really good to see everybody around the table talking about how it's been too long since they've all caught up, each of them having their little moments, and everybody being together again in the one space. It was such a great scene. And we finish off the episode with Deanna sitting down with Jack to get to the bottom of his abilities. They have a sort of a telepathic link. They're exploring the vines and everything that cover the ships in his visions, and that, more importantly, the red door, and what the significance of the red door is, and what exactly is behind the red door, which is where we leave this episode to find out what's behind the red door in next week's episode. That's going to be an interesting one. I really hope it's something mind-blowing, because obviously there's always that little danger when they do the whole mystery box premise, where everything clinches on sort of one concept, and if that concept doesn't pay off in a big way, the whole season can seem like a little bit of a letdown, which was kind of the case in Star Trek Discovery a couple of seasons ago, when the cause of the burn was the small child crying or whatever, which was not great. So hopefully we don't have something like that again, and whatever is behind the red door, it's something that has our chins on the floor, and it's a highly satisfying explanation. Really loved this episode. It had some great action. It had lots of humor and levity in it, which was awesome between our legacy characters. We had some tense moments of suspense with the whole execution lineup and everything. We saw the end of Vatic and the Shrike, and we had the full reunion of all of our 7 Next Generation cast members. What an episode this was. Really, really enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, guys. Please leave a comment and let me know what your impressions were on this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, to keep up to date with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. And check out my merch in the merch store. Hoodies, mugs, caps, coffee mugs, stickers, it's all there. Heaps of cool Star Trek designs. Check it out, pick yourself up a bargain, and support the channel at the same time. I'll be back very soon with the next video. I'll see you guys soon.